Hurricane Emily is getting nastier by the hour as she bears down on the Carolina coast. And Good Morning America, I'm Charles Gibson.
And I'm Dana King from Good Morning America Sunday, sitting in while Joan London is on a much-deserved vacation. It is Tuesday, August the 31st. Emily is still more than 100 miles out at sea, packing 100-mile-an-hour winds. And the people in Emily's path now are heeding the warnings. Right now, Spencer Christian is standing by watching the advance of Hurricane Emily from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Spencer, what's the latest?
Well, Dana, a hurricane warning has been issued for all of North Carolina's Outer Banks, reaching northward up to where I am this morning in Virginia Beach, and then north of here up to the Maryland coast. Big question right now is when and where will Hurricane Emily turn northward? And I'll have details coming up in just a moment. Charlie?
Whither she goest, Spencer will go, and he'll keep you apprised, but certainly this morning as people get ready. Also ahead this morning, the Israeli cabinet has approved limited self-rule, as you probably know, for Palestinians in some of the occupied territories. And everyone wants to know whether this is the long-awaited breakthrough in relations between Arabs and Israelis. And where will it lead as Middle East peace talks resume today in Washington? In a few moments, Palestinian delegate Hanan Ashrawi and former Israeli Foreign Minister Abba Eban with us assessing the latest moves. Right now, Lisa McCree of ABC News, sitting in for Morton Dean, has the latest news on the hurricane. Lisa?
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. As Spencer just said, Hurricane Emily is making its way towards the mid-Atlantic coast this morning. The hurricane strengthened overnight. It's now more than powerful enough to cause some serious damage. We talked to Bob Sheets, who's the director of the National Hurricane Center, a few moments ago for the latest on Emily.
Okay, it's carrying 100-mile-per-hour winds, forecast to go to 115, moving toward the west-northwest, turning toward the northwest today. That means the center will be near the Outer Banks of North Carolina mid to late afternoon today.
How accurate is that landfall prediction?
Well, not all that accurate, but very close.
Okay. If the storm turns north, though, when it hits the coast, what does that mean in terms of swells for the coastal communities?
Well, we'll have some swells, 3 to 8 feet of storm surge.
Yesterday, President Clinton promised quick government help to deal with the hurricane. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has brought in trailers full of disaster supplies. Perhaps the best preparation is simply getting out of harm's way. Most of North Carolina's barrier islands are now deserted. ABC's Mike Von Frem joins us from Cape Hatteras. Mike?
Lisa, we're beginning to get some pretty good gusts here in Cape Hatteras. As you can see, the ocean's churning, and the waves are coming all the way up to the dunes. Now, this is normally one of the most popular vacation weeks of the year. Tourists have paid top dollar to spend their vacation on this beach, but almost all of them have gone home. They're not taking any chances. There's a real concern here that when the hurricane moves onto this beach, it's going to be at the exact same time that there's high tide. Couple that with a full moon, and you've got perhaps a tidal surge that could do more damage than the wind. For what is going to be happening to a little to the south of me down the coast, here's ABC's Aaron Brown in Morehead City.
Mike, good morning. I gather from listening to you, it is a fair amount calmer here than it is there, though just in the last couple of hours, the weather has started to change at the southern end of this target area. The wind has picked up some. The clouds have increased dramatically. We're starting to get a little bit of rain. Today here will be a day spent, we suspect, waiting out the storm after a very busy day yesterday.
The day before the storm arrived was the day to leave for many. On the barrier islands, time to board up and pack up and drive off on crowded roads. And if you couldn't drive, you took the ferry, and they were jammed as well. Thousands driven off by a storm still well out at sea, and memories that live much closer.
We know what happened in South Florida with Hurricane Andrew.
So you have respect for hurricanes?
Oh, man, I'm scared of them.
I stayed for Hugo the last time, and this time I don't think I want to take a chance.
But while many left, others stayed, making a bet against the storm they could not see.
It's definitely a chance you take because it could increase in a matter of hours.
Closer to the mainland, Atlantic Beach's police chief, Russ Duke, wasn't forcing anyone to leave, just asking that they go. The tourist season ended 1 week early.
Excuse me, sir, we're under hurricane evacuation. Might I ask where you're going?
To get my stuff and head for West Virginia.
Whether it's back home in West Virginia or just the safety of higher ground, it's the only safe harbor from a hurricane that is heading your way.
You respect the water. You respect Mother Nature. You can't conquer it, and you can't control it.
And sometimes you can't predict it very well. They have waited here for this storm to turn north to clear this area some. Emergency management officials here believe they have done everything they can do to prepare the 55,000 people of this community for the storm. And now they'll wait. Lisa?
All right. Thanks, Aaron. ABC News will, of course, keep you up to date on the progress of Hurricane Emily with a complete wrap-up on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. In other news, Middle East peace talks reopened today with a brighter future. Last night, the Israeli cabinet approved a broad agreement to grant self-rule to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the city of Jericho. But not everyone is happy about the breakthrough. Right-wing hardliners demonstrated their opposition to the plan in Jerusalem last night, and some have threatened continued violence to block the move. The top Israeli officials remain convinced this may be the key to lasting peace.
After 100 years of ongoing hatred, violence, terror, war, maybe we begin another 100 years of understanding, of civilized relations, of a hope for the younger generation.
And PLO leader Yasser Arafat told reporters in Egypt this morning that Israel has agreed to withdraw its troops from Jericho and the Gaza Strip within 4 months of signing an agreement. The United Auto Workers is putting Ford in the hot seat. The union will negotiate first with the #2 automaker on a contract that will set a pattern for the rest of the domestic auto industry. The UAW is already taking a hard line on one of Ford's demands, that workers share more of their health care costs.
When we negotiated health care benefits and continued to improve them, that was in lieu of wages that we otherwise would have negotiated. So we paid for those benefits.
That current contract covering 96,000 Ford auto workers expires September 14th. Well, popular jockey Julie Krone is recovering from a rather spectacular spill at Saratoga Racetrack in New York. Krone suffered a badly broken ankle and an injured arm when she fell from her horse during the final day of racing at that upstate track. Fellow jockey Jean-Luc Samyn was also thrown when 2 horses collided in mid-stride. He escaped with no injury, but Krone was trampled by a 3rd horse after being thrown. Krone underwent surgery last night. She's in fair condition this morning. And that's the news at the top of the hour. We go back to New York. And Good Morning America.
Thanks, Lisa. It's 7 after the hour now. We're going to go back to Spencer Christian in Virginia Beach, and we're going to look at the path and see what's going on with Emily.
Okay, Dana, well, here in Virginia Beach, I'm about 75 miles north of Nags Head, North Carolina, where the storm is expected to make landfall sometime tonight. But already here in Virginia Beach, we have got some really rough waves here crashing on shore and washing right up under our feet. And we're up near against the buildings here. We're not very far out on the sand at all, so you can imagine how rough it must be south of us. Let's go to the maps. We'll take a look at the position of the storm right now. Emily's highest sustained winds, 100 miles per hour. It has gained strength over the last 24 hours. It is now a Category 2 hurricane. Its center is about 100. Did you get the word out to these folks to move out, to evacuate?
We had a lot of cooperation from the media.
So primarily through the news media. Was it an orderly evacuation? Was it an orderly evacuation?
Radio and television.
Yeah.
We were real pleased with the evacuation. We had a little problem at a bottleneck up at the Southern Shores Kitty Hawk border, where we always do, and the State Highway Patrol blocked traffic entering Dare County and used the 2-lane bridge, both exits for outflow, and that worked real well. So we're real pleased with the evacuation, and we want to say to all the people listening in this morning who evacuated, we certainly appreciate your cooperation.
Judging from the large number of people you've evacuated, I would say people cooperated and took the warnings of this storm very seriously.
Yeah, we're real pleased to see that they did that. It's a real difficult situation getting people to understand, particularly with the storm having only been a Category 1 at that time, but all the predictions that are beginning to come true saying that it may increase to a Category 3.
Mr. Sturza, approximately how many people have remained behind, and what danger might they be in as the storm approaches?
Well, we figure there's probably around 15,000 people still here, and obviously they're in danger due to high winds and rising seas, so they need to, there's still time for them to get out of here. We're not expecting the arrival of gale force winds till about 10 o'clock, so they need to go ahead and leave now or be prepared for flooding, high winds, and terrible inconvenience with the loss of power.
Okay, and then there are still people there with you at the Emergency Operations Center to provide assistance if these people need it.
Yeah, we're going to do as much as we can for them, but communications are going to become difficult, particularly on Hatteras Island, where access to that island has become limited to only essential personnel, vendors, and law enforcement people. So the gawkers and everybody else are not going to be able to be down there effective immediately.
Okay, and just quickly before we leave you, what are the conditions like, weather conditions right now down there?
Okay, it's becoming overcast. As you can see behind me, the seas are rising, the winds are picking up, and it looks like the storm is beginning to make its initial approach.
Okay, Raymond Sturza from the Emergency Operations Center in Dare County, North Carolina. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's get back to Admiral Leland here in Virginia Beach. And can you tell me, sir, about the Coast Guard's efforts in preparing for this hurricane?
Well, we've been busy since the weekend when Emily was upgraded to a hurricane. And I have one air station, a group office, and 4 stations in North Carolina. And we've been paring them back and battening down the hatches. We've been working with the Park Service to facilitate the evacuation of the Outer Banks. And we've been flying long-range aircraft out to warn the mariners, and we've been busily trying to clear our ports of commercial traffic so there's nothing particularly hazardous in Wilmington, Morehead City, or here in Norfolk.
So it's boaters, mariners, water traffic you're concerned about more than with the evacuation effort?
That's true. Our principal responsibility is maritime safety and getting everything in readiness so that after the storm, if there's any major kind of recovery work, that we're prepared to do it.
Now, how difficult an operation is this for the Coast Guard to get the word out and to warn the mariners and get them off those waters?
Well, it's not terribly difficult. We're well equipped to do this. It's a question of whether they'll pay attention or not. Where they're in port, certainly we have a hammer and we can make things move. Out on the ocean, we rely a lot on the common sense of the mariner himself.
Well, to those who may be a little stubborn and slow to move out, what warning do you issue?
Well, at least for the next few hours, there's a great book out saying don't go near the water, and I'd advise them to follow that advice.
I'd follow that advice myself. Admiral Leland, thank you for joining us this morning, and you might want to move away as the water's washing up onto our feet here on shore. Things are getting a little bit rough here at Virginia Beach right now. The storm is certainly getting nearer, and we'll continue to follow it throughout the program and update you on its progress. Dana?
All right, being prepared, I guess, is the best motto. The difference between life and death, maybe. Thanks, Spencer. It's now 14 after the hour. Next, new hopes for peace between Palestinian Arabs and Israelis when Good Morning America continues. Hope you stay with us.
Pet owners, stay tuned for a pet care tip from the Scratch X Pet Clinic.
Where does Billy's dog sleep? Anywhere he wants, because now he's protected by a new Scratch X Colorful Flea Collar. Scratch X Colorful Collars come in 4 colors that show you care for dogs and cats. Every Scratch X collar is packed with the power to kill twice as many fleas as Hearts and Sergeant's 5-month collars, since Scratch X works twice as long. Original Scratch X and new Colorful Collars from Scratch X, leader in long-lasting flea protection.
Now to the Pet Clinic. Every pet owner wants a happy, healthy pet. Vets say the 2 most common warning signs that something may be wrong with your pet are a poor appetite and a scruffy-looking coat. Always provide a balanced diet and fresh water. Groom your pet and shampoo regularly with Scratch X Flea and Tick Shampoo and Conditioner. Tip, leave it on for 5 minutes, then rinse well.
This tip is brought to you by Scratch X, available at Kmart.
One of my twin boys was eating his food, and I headed for his plate, and he covered it, and he said, "No, Mommy, that's my food." I realized then that I really had a problem. I went to Jenny Craig because from the very beginning of the program, they start teaching you how to not be on the program, how to cook differently, and to change your lifestyle. I feel attractive again.
Instead of just another diet, get personal weight management at Jenny Craig, all for just $1 a pound. Call 1-800-92-JENNY.
Police in Oregon are now videotaping drinking drivers to help make sure they get convicted.
How much have you had to drink tonight? I am going to ask that you do some field sobriety tests. Go ahead and watch the pen. Try to follow it with your eyes without moving your head.
Remember Oregon's tough laws about drinking and driving.
So what I'm going to do is place you under arrest for driving under the influence of intoxicants.
Because if you drink and drive, the least you'll lose is your license.
Coming up now at 17 minutes after the hour. Last night, after a lengthy debate, as you heard in the news, and I'm sure are reading in your morning newspaper, the Israeli cabinet approved a plan that would give limited self-rule to Palestinians living in certain areas of the occupied territories. It could be the beginning of the end of fighting between Israel and the PLO, and those are extraordinary words to say. Joining us this morning is Labor Party member and former Israeli Foreign Minister Abba Eban, and joining us from Washington is Hanan Ashrawi, spokesperson for the Palestinian delegation to the peace talks. I appreciate both of you being here. Hanan Ashrawi, let me start with you, because those are extraordinary words to say. These are intractable enemies that we've had on the brink of a peace agreement. How significant do you see this to be?
Although I do think this is a significant new phase, I also would like to caution against jumping to conclusions and thinking that we have miraculous healing, or that all of a sudden all the problems have been erased and there has been a cure. But I think we are beginning a new but very difficult phase in which the causes of the conflict are being gradually unraveled. And this is going to take some time and a lot of work and a lot of doing. But what we agreed, or what has been agreed to, is not limited self-rule on part of the territories. Rather, a transitional phase that would involve withdrawal from the Gaza Strip and Jericho area, at the same time withdrawal from the populated areas in the rest of the occupied territories.
Abba Eban, let me turn to you. You have a luxury of a seat on the sidelines, but you worked on the creation of the Israeli state. Is this the beginning of a Palestinian state?
It's a very significant breakthrough if everybody concerned takes it seriously. Everybody concerned means Israelis, Palestinians, and Americans, because the United States should put itself with enthusiasm behind it. It begins to unravel what had become an untenable situation. Let me say this, that Territories for Peace has been tried in one context, namely Egyptian-Israeli relations, and it is a success. There are 0 Israeli fallen, and war is almost impossible, whereas before, thousands of our people fell and war was inevitable. On the other hand, permanent retention has proved to be completely sterile. No people can govern another people without all the tensions and acrimonies that have arisen, and therefore that we are going into a new phase in which the Palestinians will be able, in a certain part of the territory, to exercise their functions, and Israelis and Arabs will learn the lesson of coexistence on the ground. This really is a significant change.
I'm interested in your early admonition, if everyone takes it seriously. Do you see the United States not taking it as seriously as you?
No, I just hope that it isn't enough to avoid pouring cold water. That's what I mean. The United States, I think, ought to be active, and especially those who are against it must understand that they are moving against the spirit and the impulse of our age, because governing foreign peoples against their will is the only impossibility in the modern age, and therefore to be against this is to be against the hope of all the world.
Well, let me talk about opposition, and Hanan Ashrawi, let me turn to you. We saw demonstrations from opponents in Israel yesterday, and I want to ask you about the opposition, the hardliners within the Palestinian movement. They are hardly pleased by this. You recognize Israel, you renounce terrorism, and yet may be left with no more than self-rule in some limited parts of the territories. Is this enough to overcome the opposition that exists in the Palestinian movement?
Not at all. It certainly is not enough. We have a whole spectrum of opposition forces, ranging from total ideological opposition to opposition to the process itself as inadequate or as biased. But at the same time, I think the way it has been characterized would increase opposition if people believe that this is what we have and this is what we may be left with. Because what we have started is a whole process. This is, after all, only a declaration of principles that would be the political framework of an agreement. And it is in 2 phases. And the 2 phases are interlocked for the purpose of implementing Security Council Resolution 242, which means withdrawal. So in a sense, we have started a process with incremental steps, and there is a scheduled withdrawal. So if we characterize it only as limited self-rule in part of the territories, then certainly I wouldn't accept it, frankly speaking. But we are not running our functions. We are taking decision-making and authority into our hands and restoring some of our lands. It is a good beginning.
Assurance in your mind that this will extend past Gaza and Jericho?
Certainly. If it were only to be limited to Gaza and Jericho, I would be the first to oppose it. We have an overall agreement that would deal with Gaza and Jericho as immediate withdrawal areas. and withdrawal from populated areas in the rest of the occupied territories, but these are linked. They are interlocked to permanent status negotiations, which would implement withdrawal from the rest of the occupied territories. And I think you said earlier this is the beginning of statehood. I think this is the first step. But let me say that the opposition is skeptical, and we have different types of opposition. Skepticism is quite legitimate at this point. And it's because of the disequilibrium in power, the asymmetry in power, and the fact that many Israeli preconditions have been incorporated in this agreement.
In the final 45 seconds, your concerns, your feeling about the greatest obstacles that now exist.